Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Lee with Core Vision Financial Group, and welcome to another video on financial topics. This morning, we're going to discuss RMDs and charitable giving and just some strategies that may make sense depending on your situation. Today, our guest is actually a really fun one for me. It's my dad, Gene Jones, and just to kind of give you a little bit about his background and why I asked him to do this with me. He's a retired CPA. He was a partner in a company named Slattery & Holman since 1985. So that experience, and he's recently retired, and then he's currently the chairman of the board for a major hospital and has been on that board since 1999, and probably 10 to 15 years has been chairman. So he's been on multiple boards in Shelby County and surrounding counties, committees, all kinds of financial help with nonprofits. So I thought he would be a good resource to give us a little information as we kind of touch on this topic. So, Dad, I can't call you Gene because it's too weird. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll just start there?
No, you pretty much covered it all. I started with Slattery & Holman in 1985 and became a partner in 1990 to fix that intro. Yeah, I have been on the board for a while, several other boards, several other committees. Today's topic for me is interesting because I've done some of this, so I know how you can affect people and help people and so forth. So
right, and if you can help yourself and help an organization, it's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
So RMDs stands for Required Minimum Distribution. Why do we have to do that?
Because it's required by regulations by the IRS.
Right, but that income or that amount of money we have saved, and it's never been taxed, right? So the government, and that lowered our taxable income
During the time.
Correct. And so because of that, the IRS wants their money,
They want the tax on it.
They want that, right. And the way that works, and we won't get super detailed, when that starts, there's like a whole metric and it increases percentage each year.
About 4%. The older you get, the percentage goes up. So, and there's tables, you can look at Social Security tables and they'll tell you what your RMD requirement for each year. So if you're curious of what you might be getting, you can look it up.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's an easy Google search. We also have them in the office as well. They change every year. They update them. As you get older, those numbers get pretty significant.
As far as the distribution?
Yeah, as the percentage gets pretty high. So my assumption is that the IRS wants to deplete it entirely, but because that hasn't been taxed yet. Anyway, that's kind of the why. And then the when. At age, and it's been changing quite a bit here recently. So as of right now, if you turn 73 before December 31st of 2022, your RMDs should have started at age 72. If you turned 73 after December 31st of 2022, then you can wait until age 73. As of right now, regulation is at age 75 starting in 2033. That may change, we don't know, but it has continued to get later, which is positive, I think.
COVID had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, that was when 2019 was the first change, and then it's just continued quite a bit since. So, and when you take those RMDs, they are subject to income tax again, because they haven't been taxed yet. What are some ways or maybe some other things that we could do instead of just pulling out that RMD because we have to and paying income tax on it?
Well, you can be benevolent with it. You can give to a 501c3
okay.
up to $100,000. I believe it's non-taxable for state too. So
501c is a nonprofit.
Yep. Not
every nonprofit is
eligible.
Correct. So first and foremost, that would be something that we want to confirm. But what would be the benefit of doing that instead of just putting it in your bank account and
they get tax on it?
So it would be a tax-free distribution.
That's correct.
Okay.
Up to $100,000.
Up to $100,000, and that's called a qualified charitable distribution, correct?
That's correct.
What would be the benefit of doing that other than taxes?
Well, if you're making a contribution to a 501c3, you're obviously helping that organization. you're not getting taxed and they're getting the money. So,
Right.
but everybody wins.
Right. Because you can still be working at age 73. There's nothing against that. But if you would donate that RMD, then it could potentially, depending on each person's situation is different, but it could potentially then lower your taxable income for that year as well, correct?
Well, it would. Not
Well,
potentially.
sorry, it definitely would, but it might even put you in a lower tax bracket.
That's correct.
So there would be an added tax benefit, if you will.
Well, there would be a permanent difference in your tax because your rate might go up, your table.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would imagine if it's $100 grand, I'm not saying everybody's going to do 100, but 100 would definitely move your tax table.
Yeah.
So the rate could be 4, 5, 6, 7% lower.
Again, all while helping a nonprofit.
I mean, that's why you're doing it, really.
It should be, but it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're at home, you're watching this video, and you're like, this is totally what I want to do. This makes sense for me. Because a lot of times people will get to RMD age and Social Security is enough to cover what they need, or maybe they have post-tax dollars that they're utilizing and they don't need their IRA money, and they, that happens quite a bit. And as that percentage increases, then people are like, what do I do with this? Because I have to take it.
And I don't need it.
So again, it's just a really great way.
Everybody wins. I mean, if you don't need it and you don't want to increase your tax bracket, personally, from my point of view, I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't need it. Now you can always give it to your kids or other things, but you can still do that. You can do that by gifting, but
Right.
I don't think anybody loses under that scenario.
Yeah, which is good. All right, so let's say, again, you're at home and you are thinking this makes sense for you. How do you go about it, right? So first, you'd want to focus on what organizations are important to you.
Do your homework, make sure they're 501c.
Right.
Pound on that, but
Right, no, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper too in a minute, but just talking here locally, obviously Major Hospital Foundation. Can you go into a little bit about what the foundation does for the hospital? You can keep it pretty brief, but just in case anybody's not familiar.
It supports the hospital in numerous ways. I mean, I could spend an hour on that, but it just, you set up a trust with the foundation then spends that money accordingly. You can make that money go wherever you want it to go. But
Right, because you can direct it if you want, but you can also just kind of keep it general as well.
It can be a general account too. Blue River would have some things you could do.
Yep, and that would be an organization that gives to Shelby County.
Yep, for the most part, yeah. Again, 501c3
Right.
That designation exists.
Personally, I have a tie to Girls Inc., so that's one that I'm pretty tied. I assume Boys and Girls Club would be the same as far as eligibility. And there are a plethora. I mean, there are a plethora, but so
Just make sure it has that
Shelby
designation.
Senior Services, that's another great one.
I mean,
So
there's many of them. I mean, you can give money to a lot of organizations and not have to worry about it.
yeah. I mean, I think we even have had clients that have utilized one of the pet Humane Society. That's what it is, the Humane Society. So if you are an animal lover, like there are charities probably for every single interest that anyone would have that would qualify.
But do your homework.
Well, yes. Yeah, because just because it's a charity that qualifies doesn't mean that it's necessarily got good leadership either. So
just do your homework.
Yeah. So first, that's what you got to figure out, right? Who do you want to donate that money to? And then the next thing that I come to is checking eligibility. So again, making sure that they qualify for a qualified charitable distribution, because it would really stink if you went through all that, did it, and then didn't get the tax advantage. You're still helping out the organization, but it's not a win for everyone in that situation.
It's a win for them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's a bad deal or idea, but.
Right, and it would lower your taxable income for the year, right?
Well, if it's not deducted, it would lower it. I mean, it's got to be a 501c3 or it's going to be taxed. It doesn't help you, it helps them. And that, that's personal preference. So if somebody wants to help somebody, there may not be tax driven. If you're not, do what you want to do. Right,
and that actually brings up a great point too. Like you couldn't just gift this to your child because they're in need. That wouldn't qualify unless they...
You can gift it. You can gift the RMD to your child. It's still going to be taxable. You have to file, and you probably file a gift tax return.
It wouldn't be a qualified charitable
That's
distribution
correct.
unless for whatever reason they were to have that tax status, but I would doubt that. Now we have identified charities. We've confirmed that they are eligible, can I just write a check?
You can, but it won't be.
Okay.
It's going to be taxable.
Right. So in order to continue to be qualified, it has to go directly from the custodian to the charity.
Yep.
So we do this a lot of times at the end of the year for clients when they kind of start to see where their tax situation is. And then we have forms that you fill out so that we can do that directly from the account. I would assume that process is pretty much the same for any custodian. I would think it's pretty similar.
Of all the stuff we've talked about, that's the most important. That money has to come directly from the person that's holding it, whatever organization it is, directly to the foundation or the 501c3. There cannot be any intermediary, and by that means you put it in your check account, you write the check. You can't do that. You can.
It just wouldn't qualify.
You're going to pay tax on it. And I don't know if you can crawl that back. I don't know if there's a time period where you can crawl it back if you realize, because that's happened. People didn't know it. But I don't know if there's I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's each situation is unique.
Right.
Again, we're assuming everything has gone well. We've done our homework. We've done everything the way we're supposed to do it. But we still need to document it because we are going to still need to prove on our return, right, that it's a qualified charitable distribution. So how does that work?
We're going to get 1099 from the IRS, and it'll have it on their QCD. Right. Most of them are going to be on a longer page. They're not the short 1099s that everybody's used to seeing, for the most part. And it'll have the designation. It'll be a block something. And when you're tax preparer, whoever that is, if you're doing it yourself, you got to make sure you're checking the right boxes, because if you don't, it will be taxed as you missed checking the right box. As silly as that sounds. And if you have that, you might want to check. If you're doing your own return, you might want to check with tax advisor. So.
Which is my next point. Specifically, probably in these situations, you want to consult a tax professional, because again, every situation is unique. So we've kind of covered a really basic high view of what this can look like, but each person is going to be unique. And so it really, to benefit you as the client and the organization as well, just making sure that, all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, it's really worth spending some time with a professional who does this on a regular basis and knows which boxes that need checked.
Don't contact me, I'm retired.
That's right. All right, is there anything else that you feel like we haven't covered?
No, I think the two main points: make sure it's 501c3, make sure the money passes directly between the two organizations as they go through your checkbook, and do your homework. People should really look at this. It's a pretty neat deal.
If you can help your community or something that tugs on your heart and benefit yourself at the same time, I mean, it definitely makes sense.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. Just kind of in my own experience, those funds can really make a difference too.
Yep.
Because especially
that's what I mean by homework.
A lot of our nonprofits locally have funds invested, and if they can continue and handle some of their programming self-funded, that's awesome. Because then your gift isn't just that gift, it's in perpetuity. So you can really make a difference in your community as well. We've got a great community. I think we have a very giving community. So
churches should be in there too.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Don't forget churches.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a big one right now here in town. All right, well thanks Dad. I appreciate you coming in. I know this is not...
It's very intense. Thanks everybody.